So this was the wooden prototype to just get the approximate spacing right. I wasn't real happy with this because due to using the jigsaw and such, the holes are not all rectangular or square, and they're different sizes when they're supposed to be the same for some of the pieces and that sort of thing. So, and I also wasn't sure, because this was too thick to use on one side, if I was going to have to do half on one, half on the other, split it with the bandsaw. So I figured, all right, well, since I'm still not sure about this, but this worked for a template size, let's try and make one out of foam. And my initial thought was, since this is multiple layers, if I use the Dremel and cut 2 layers off and leave 1 layer, maybe that would work. Problem is, the foam didn't all come out cleanly in some spots. If it had, that may have been okay, but as it is, I think I'm going to just cut those bits out and still use the foam, but use a piece inserted down in the bottom. The other problem is the blue comes off all over everywhere, so I have to be careful not to get that all over the wood, because it's not supposed to be a blue thing. So I'm not sure that the Sharpie on this was the best idea, but yeah, well. The plan is to try and make little inserts, get this wrapped around so that it makes sense and covers the sides good, and then make a little insert that will fit down in that is the bottom. It's the figuring out bits that's always the challenge. This red felt is a pain. Now granted, those aren't stuck down, so those very possibly could suck too, because I don't know how well this is going to stick to the styrofoam. I probably should test that at some point before I decide to finally use that, because that'll be really annoying. This part, I don't know whether it's just the adhesive does not work with the plastic, or the fact that these are old, and maybe the adhesive, decided to do its thing, or maybe I touched it too much in some spots, but it doesn't even want to stick to itself. And even if it did, some of the white plastic still sticks through, which is not ideal. The idea was that since these things are going to be a pain, in order to make the little cups for the money to fit in, I would have these side pieces underneath the larger bottoms. That way, normally it's in and out this way, so that the pieces that it would be dragging against the most would be tucked underneath the bottom piece, or the longer bottom piece. And then because I would have the styrofoam showing, or whatever, or the wood if I decided to use the wood instead, since this was based off the wood. Instead of having the wood showing, I would try and make a cover plate that was thin, that was the same color, so it would kind of blend in. Well, the problem with that, because here's the other issue, or the reason why I decided to attempt that doesn't seem to be working. The money is only so big. You don't want the cups so big that you can't get the money out. So ideally, you want the money to be sticking up above the cups, right? I either have to make... Oh, everything is just frustrating today. That's not going to work either. All right, do that. Money goes in the cup, and you want to ideally have the money sticking up so that you can actually access it. If it's too deep, then you have to have finger holes, and that's a whole extra mess when you have the felt. So I was trying to get it such that these were sticking up some, and so ideally, whatever I have on this part that covers it, I don't want real thick. So I could make wood, which would be a pain, but I could make wood that would go over it, but thin wood is not necessarily going to hold down very well. And I figured, all right, well, I have the plastic, and a layer of felt plus plastic's not that thick, so that thickness would have worked, but it's just not sticking right. And maybe it would have worked better if I had not done the cuts before I did it and just put the whole sheet sticky and then tried to cut from there. That might have worked slightly better. I still would have run into the issue where it's not sticking to the plastic to hold it down. Like some spots it is, some spots it isn't. So I still would have possibly had that issue. So even if I could get it stuck, it just takes one spot of this showing through or whatnot that makes it not a nice thing. Because if I'm going to charge someone money for this, I want to have it something that I would like for myself. I want to have it at least the quality that I would like myself for things. And that does not mean, weird stuff or seeing the plastic. The felt has to be right. This method was not right. Again, I'm not sure if this method is going to be right either. I might have to go back to the wood, or I don't think this way is going to work. So if nothing else, I figured out this plastic and or this felt on this plastic is not going to work. Maybe it would have stuck better, because normally I'd never used this plastic with felt before. I've only ever used this thinner transparent plastic, which of course now I can't get out because I only have pieces, this thinner transparent plastic. So maybe that would have stuck better. And if that does, it's going to pull off. Pretty sure it's probably going to still pull off. If that sticks better, maybe that would be better, because I guess the benefit of a transparent plastic, it's not going to be white. It'll be clear. And it does look like it's sticking slightly better to that. So yeah, I still have to make sure that whatever I put on here is held down enough that it holds down these pieces. And I figured this thicker plastic weighs slightly more than the thin. Yeah, I don't know. This is a challenge. Plastic didn't work,
So I'm going to just make tiny little wooden boxes instead.
Alright, I have one. I think I'm going to need way more of the little strips cut. Luckily I have a bunch of wood. I didn't want to cut it all up into strips until I was sure this was going to work.
So I did all the little cuts. I got all the little boxes glued together. Then I realized I needed to make the two of them smaller. Did a test felt. Did all the rest of the felts. And that worked. Then put spacer boards in between such that things were a little more solid. And then...
One step closer. That's more or less how it's going to look. So I got the maple trim sorted out. I got this framework glued to the vertical sides and to the trim, and it fits down over the felt. So theoretically, at least for now, you could take that off and replace the felt if needed. I don't think that's ever going to need to happen, so I don't think it's going to occur, but it could. So there you go. Very cool.